About the time the F-16 fighter was being developed, fighter jets became increasingly complex. Through evolution, each generation of jets built upon its predecessors and added additional capability and complexity. Pilots were presented with an array of buttons and controls. But while you're engaged with an enemy, you don't want to be flailing around the cockpit twisting knobs and punching buttons. To address this, the concept of HOTAS arose. HOTAS stands for hands on throttle and stick. The throttle can control not only engine and afterburner, but speed brakes as well. And how's this for the stick? Got enough controls there without moving your hands away? So what does this have to do with the RV-12? We don't have drop tanks, external stores, wing-mounted missiles, or machine guns. Well, the RV-12 today represents an evolution over time, just like the jets do. It makes it easier to manage in flight. Let's take a look. We can start with the throttle or engine controls. The original RV-12 had the carbureted ULS engine. You have the push-pull throttle and choke controls. This is all typical for many aircraft at the time. Through evolution, though, the IS version of the plane has a single throttle control. No mixture, no carb heat, no primer. Everything is digitally automated. Rather than a push-pull throttle, Vans opted for a quadrant-style control instead. When I started flying, we didn't have push-to-talk buttons. We didn't wear headsets with boom mics. The 172 I learned in had a microphone like this one, and we used it like truckers on CB radios do today. The speaker was embedded in the ceiling, and if the engine noise was too loud to hear the tower, you just turned the radio volume up. The first iteration of the RV-12 had a push-to-talk button located at the top of the stick. Now, if you had to communicate while flying, you could do so with hands on the throttle and stick. In the IS version of the RV-12, the push-to-talk button was moved to the front of the hand grip, and you press it with your index finger to talk. Well, right from the get-go, the RV-12 has had electric trim. The ULS version has a rocker-type trim switch located on the panel. Later versions located the switch, and the trim was moved to this position, I think. Maybe an RV owner can correct me if I'm wrong. Keeping with the idea that your hands need to remain on the stick, the trim buttons were moved to the hand grip on the stick, like so. You can trim away the pressures on the stick with hands on throttle and stick. The radio in the RV-12 can be controlled by this tuner, as well as by the touch screen. Flipping the channel from standby to active can be done using this button. Doing that, though, requires reaching up to the panel with your throttle hand, so let's fix that by putting a button on the stick instead. Now, you can flip channels without moving your hand at all. Very convenient when you're getting a bumpy ride and you have to stab a small switch on the panel. You do it with your hands on stick. It's an option, but who wouldn't want the 2-axis autopilot in your RV-12? The AP button is used to activate the autopilot. It's a toggle, so it can also be used to disconnect the autopilot, but that would mean reaching up to the panel, and you know by now we want to avoid that. You can disconnect the autopilot by moving the stick or throttle setting, but that can be disconcerting to a passenger. So what do? Well, you mash the autopilot disconnect switch on the stick, of course. So, while not in the same league as the F-16 in terms of complexity, at least the RV-12iS version has implemented some of the objectives of HOTAS, and the evolution continues. Since my 2022 RV-12 came out, I see there's a further refinement in newer models with the inclusion of a toggle button. That's evolution in practice. So I'm pretty happy with the RV-12. For the type of flying I do, it's the perfect combination of advanced technology and aerodynamics. You'd have a hard time beating the price-performance curve of the Vans RV-12iS.